Hi there, I'm Gary and I'm an ordinary bloke doing stuff. Today I'm in the garden to talk about growing beans and peas. They are full of flavour and all kinds of goodness, and you can get plants to suit any situation, from a small sunny patio to a full-size garden. If you like this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I'm not sponsored or paid by anyone to make these videos, and I'm certainly no professional gardener. I just try to give you advice, one by my own trial and error. I make mistakes so you don't have to. So why don't we make a start by choosing what to grow. So let's have a look at some of the bean and pea varieties around. I should say this really is just a small sample. I can't get all of them. There are hundreds and hundreds of varieties. It's just a quick look at some that I picked up the other day. All the major companies, online, in-store, will have something like these. Just go and have a look, see what you feel like, see what you fancy. They'll all be growing pretty much the same way in these categories I'll talk about now. So first up, absolute classic, runner bean. These things grow up on the canes. They grow to sort of 6-8 feet tall. Got these beautiful, long, 30 centimetres, foot long or more, straight pods. These are fantastic. Just slice them up, boil them up. You can even parboil these, put them in the freezer, and then you'll have fresh-ish, your own at least, green beans all winter long. These will last absolutely months and months in the freezer. Beautiful things, stunning red flowers too. So you can imagine a nice big, like 8-foot high wigwam covered with this dark green and these red flowers. Absolutely beautiful. There's also this kind of climbing bean, again, grows up on the bean poles, on wigwams, and however you arrange it. These are more like a bolotti bean. This particular one is called lingua de fuoco, or fire tongue, because of this red coloration on here. These beans, you can eat them very young, so they're a bit like French beans. You can use them in a slightly bigger, like flageolets, or you can let them mature completely and take the seeds, the beans, out of the pods, and you can dry them and keep them. They'll keep months and months and months in an airtight container. You can use those then in stews and things like that all winter long. If you are going to crop them young and cook them whole, this reddish colour does disappear, sadly. It just comes out green. But other than that, the seeds do retain their speckle if you keep them for stews. Absolutely beautiful. And finally, the last type we're going to talk about are these things like this dwarf bean. This is Sonesta. Now, dwarf beans are superb for growing in containers and pots in small places. Dwarf bean, as the name suggests, it doesn't grow up a massive cane. This type grows about 50 centimetres, 1.5 foot tall, and has a spread of about 30 centimetres or a foot. But it will produce lots and lots and lots, in this case, of yellowish French bean type things. You can just crop them, steam them or boil them straight away, eat them fresh, even eat them raw with your salads. Absolutely stunning. Okay, I'll admit I'm quite a controversialist when it comes to peas. Now, to my mind, I'm not going to be able to produce better peas, better tasting peas in a large enough volume from my garden than I can get from a really good brand at the local supermarket that's been grown professionally, picked, frozen within minutes, and then onto the shelves. So I'm not even going to bother. What I will do is grow some sugar snap or some monchou style peas, because those are the best fresh things I can get in my garden, and I don't need so many of them. So first up is this one, Oregon sugar pod. This you can grow to monchou like this, or to sugar snaps. It's a bit bigger, very, very sweet. This needs a cane to grow up. Again, it will grow sort of 6-8 feet high. Beautiful flowers as well. Just pick as often as you can to keep the harvest going. With a lot of these things, the more you pick them within reason, the more they're going to regenerate and grow more beans or peas for you. A variety I saw the other day, and I thought I'd give these a go. This is what I'm going to be planting later today, in fact, is a climbing pea again, but this one's called Purple Magnolia. Just got these very beautiful purple outer pods that stay that way when you cook them, so you can hive them again either as a sugar snap pea with the peas quite well grown, or as monchou, which where they're only just starting out and it's very much flatter. Again, you can chop them up, put them into salads, things like that. Absolutely astounding. Finally, this is a little oddity that I'm desperate to have a go at this year. This is called an asparagus pea. And you can see on here it's like a seed pod, but with these really odd wings on here. These are also known as winged peas, by the way. These pods are best picked when they're about an inch and a half long, so 3 centimetres or so. And you cook them like that, boil them up sort of 10 minutes or steam them, and apparently they taste like asparagus. They do have these gorgeous burgundy flowers, and again it grows pretty much like a bush, so about 40-50 centimetres tall, 1.5 foot tall, and a spread of, well, I don't know, 60 centimetres or so, maybe 2 feet. So another one, absolutely perfect for patio or container. Quite the talking point when your friends come over and that's in your salad. Okay, so that's some ideas for you. Let's go and show you how we plant them up. Now we need to prepare the soil where the beans will go, so we give it a good raking over. My garden here is mainly clay soil, but I've worked in plenty of used compost from plants and containers to help give it more of a crumbly texture. And it's also at the start of the year had some well-rotted manure to give it a bit of a feed. Once you've tidied it up, you can start planting your canes into the soil. These will support the beans as they grow. I use 6 canes that reach over 2 metres or about 8 feet tall. That's because I can still reach the top when the beans have grown. You can of course use shorter canes if you want. Plant them firmly into the soil. I'm using here a nice hexagon pattern. If you're growing beans in a pot, use 3 or 4 canes in as wide a pot as you can so it doesn't overbalance when the peas have grown. I've bought one of these fancy plastic rings to hold the cane tops together. You might just want to tie them together with some good gardening twine or something strong like that. What you then need to do is reach up and slot the plastic ring over the first of the cane, and then over the rest of the canes in order, making sure you don't get them crossed between the ground and the top. You might need to change the order slightly depending on which ones are the highest. I've got one here that's a little shorter than the rest, so we get the other 5 together first, then slot in the last one. Push the ring down, make sure they're all nice and tight together, and there you are. And here is the wigwam planted up in my garden. You'll notice it looks skewed off to one side, off to the left. Well, that's on purpose, believe it or not. That's so it doesn't interfere with the rose bush on the right hand side there. Once the canes are all set, you should start to tie them together. This gives added rigidity and strength for the canes, but it also allows side shoots of the main growing stems of the beans to find something to climb along and support as the plant grows. Here, of course, I'm using garden twine, but anything will do really. Do this at about 3 or 4 levels going up the canes. Finally, we're ready to plant the beans. Just use a dibber or a stick or something like that, even pencil, to push a hole into the soil about 1 or 2 inches, 3 to 5 centimetres, and then make sure it's got a bit of room and drop a seed into each hole. I like to do 2 seeds per cane. Some people like to then pick out the weedier one. I just let them both grow. And here's a quick little top tip. If you're growing peas, they can be a little bit frail, a bit fragile, trying to reach over to the main cane here. So good idea is to just pop a couple of bamboo skewers in, sort of bamboo skewers you get for barbecues, things like that, and then let them train up that, then they can reach up to the main pole and go happily on their way. Because they don't need staking, dwarf varieties can be grown straight into pots. So first of all, put in some broken crockery to cover the drain holes in the base. That stops the soil leaking out at the bottom, and then half fill the pot with an enriched multi-purpose compost. I like to add half a scoop of water retaining gel crystals at this point. so the lower roots of the beans will always have water even if you forget to water them for a day or two. Mix the crystals in thoroughly and then add the rest of the compost to the pot. Plant the seeds in the same way with a dibber or a stick to make a hole first. Make sure that the pot you have is large enough so that the seeds have 15 to 20 centimetres, 6 to 8 inches between them. Drop the seeds in, one in each hole, and then cover them up. Because I'm growing just the one variety in here, I tend to use just tiny little reusable plastic markers to remind me where I've actually put the seeds, so I know that anything else that pops up is probably a weed, and a single name marker in the middle. And just as usual, make sure we give it a good solid watering in. And finally, onto asparagus peas. These are best started off in pots no matter what time of year you plant them. This can be done even as late as the end of June. Here I'm using 7 centimetre or 3 inch pots which we fill with enriched compost, and we plant one seed per pot into a hole made with a dibber or a stick. These seeds are smaller than a bean or pea normally are, more like a sweet pea for size. Press in the soil around them again without being too firm, and then of course give them a good watering in. And finally, put in your plant markers. Now I've put my pots into a little greenhouse to germinate, which should take 1 or 2 weeks, but you can also use any sunny windowsill, any place where the temperature will be over about 20 Celsius or 68 Fahrenheit. After germination, they can be planted out into full-size pots or a border. So there you are. Before you know it, you'll have the freshest beans and peas aplenty. Now, if you've liked this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to check out some of the others. Do also let me know how you get on in your own garden. Thanks for watching. See you next time.